my channel. I'm Alexa and this is Biscuit. Today we're making red velvet cupcakes. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared.
First, I'm going to sift my cake flour and my cocoa powder. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. Make sure that you don't accidentally add in your baking soda at this step, because your cake probably won't turn out the way it should. If your sifter has a stand, you should tap the sides of your sifter after it looks like all the ingredients have fallen through to make sure no ingredients are stuck. Today I'm not using a sifter with a stand, so I don't need to do this step. Next, I'm going to put the sugar and oil into the bowl of my stand mixer. It may take a minute to get all the oil out of my bowl, but without the rubber spatula, there would still be a good amount left out of the recipe. You can see how much is left on the bowl while I'm scraping it in. It's more than you would probably think. I'm going to mix this until they're fully mixed together. Then, I'm going to quickly scramble my eggs with a fork. This will help them to mix in better and faster with my other ingredients. Now, I'm going to add in some of the eggs. I'm going to mix this until it's mostly mixed in. in the rest of my eggs and mix until it's all incorporated. I'm also going to add in the vanilla. Now, I'm going to quickly scrape down my bowl with the rubber spatula to make sure everything is mixing well. Don't forget to scrape the bottom of your bowl as well. Even if you think nothing is stuck, still scrape it because there may be a small amount of something that didn't mix in. Next, I'm going to add in about half of my sifted dry ingredient mixture from before. The dry ingredients are sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to quickly scrape it down again with my rubber spatula. Then, as the bowl is mixing, I'm going to pour in about half of the buttermilk. It doesn't need to be exact. Now, I'm going to add in the rest of my sifted dry ingredient mixture. Some dry ingredients are once again sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down again. I'm going to add in the rest of the buttermilk. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to put my baking soda into a medium-sized bowl and then add in the vinegar. It's going to get fizzy and bubble up, but whisk it a little to make sure everything's mixed in. Then, I'm going to add that mixture into my batter along with the water. I'm going to mix this until it's fully combined. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to scoop the cupcakes. I'm using 1/3 of a cup ice cream scoop, which makes them have muffin-like edges. If you don't want them to have that, then use a 3 tablespoon scoop. This is a comparison between the cupcake that's 1/3 of a cup and 3 tablespoons. Then, I'm going to wipe the batter that dripped onto my cupcake tin with a wet paper towel. It is helpful if you do this before you bake the cupcakes because the batter will bake onto your tin and make it harder to clean. Now I'm going to put my cupcakes into the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My cupcakes took 20 minutes to bake. When they're done, if you press your finger into them lightly, they will puff back up. You can also use a cake tester or a toothpick, and if it comes out dry, then it's done. Place them onto a cooling rack so they can cool. Next, I'm going to start on the frosting. To do this, I'm going to sift my powdered sugar. This is a very important step because if you don't do this, your frosting will be full of powdered sugar clumps. Then, I'm going to put my room temperature cream cheese into the bowl of my stand mixer until it becomes very light and creamy. The cream cheese is sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape the sides of it with my rubber spatula. I'm going to mix this a little longer to make it fully creamy. Do not rush this step because if there are pieces of cream cheese not fully creamed together, they will most likely remain that way in the finished product. going to add in the room temperature butter. I'm going to mix this until it's fully mixed in, again with no butter pieces left. The mixture is sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down again. I'm going to mix these until it's fully creamy. looks very creamy, so I'm going to add in about half of my sifted powdered sugar. The powdered sugar is sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down again. Now I'm going to add in the rest of the powdered sugar. I'm going to mix this until it's fully combined. Next, I'm going to add in the vanilla extract. Once again, some powdered sugar is sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down again. My frosting looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to fill my piping bag. To do that, I'm going to first put the piping bag into a jar. This will make it easier to prepare the bag and fill it with frosting. Then I'm going to add the star tip and then cut the end of the piping bag right below the tip so the tip sticks out a little when you push on it. I need to cut it a little more to make it fit a little better. There's a little plastic from the bag in the way, so I can just fold it up instead of cutting more. If we cut it some more, we may cut it too big and the tip won't stay in place. Then I'm going to use my rubber spatula to push the frosting into the piping bag. You don't want to fill it to the top because you need to twist the bag tightly to keep the frosting from coming out the top as you squeeze the frosting out of the bottom. To pipe the frosting, I'm going to press evenly on the piping bag and swirl it around the cupcake. You can do it however you think looks best. Then I'm going to put some sprinkles on top of it. To do that, I'm going to place them on in a nice design. Press them lightly in so that they stay. And my red velvet cupcakes are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and happy early Valentine's Day.